Good morning. It's time to get started, so let's take our songbooks. Number 461. 461, Stepping in the Light. We'll stand as we sing it on that first verse. 461. Trying to walk Good singing. Let's remain standing for prayer. Lord, we thank you this morning. Thank you for all that you've done for us and given to us. Lord, we look forward to what you have from us, for us from your word. And Lord, as your Holy Spirit directs our hearts and our thoughts today, may you be pleased in how we respond and what we do. And Lord, be with Brother Anger as he comes. And Lord, for all that you have for us today, we're grateful. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. You may be seated. Welcome. We're so glad that you're here this morning for our Sunday school hour on a cloudy Sunday morning. And are you going to dim the lights, Brother Anger, or are you going to keep them? Okay, so no sleeping when the lights get dimmed. And some folks will be trickling in, I'm sure. Looking forward to this class that Brother Anger is going to be teaching starting this morning for the next several weeks. And I trust that'll be a blessing to you and that you'll learn a lot. So you might want to move to a location where you can see this board a little bit better, and I'm sure that will be a blessing to you. And I'm going to turn it over to Brother Anger at this time, and he can take it from here. Thank you.
All right. Even though I'm a teacher, and I am used to getting up in front of students and talking, I feel a little nervous about this one because this is not a subject of my forte. And I know of a church that took I'm not Baptist, but Bible Lands Geography and did 52-week lessons on it. And I'm trying to narrow it down to 6. And there's so much that could be covered, so we're trying to narrow it down. Well, then even when I get one lesson, I'm nervous whether I have way too much material or not enough. And so we'll see how it goes. I did ask you to download an app, and we're going to actually start with a game. You should be receiving a piece of paper that's not to take notes on. Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do with that paper in a couple minutes. But everybody should have one sheet of paper. And if you have the Kahoot app, Or if you just have a smartphone that has access to the internet, you can go to www.kahoot.it. Okay, Kahoot.it. You see it says there at the top, join at kahoot.it, and then it'll ask for a game pin. All right, so there's a pin number to put in. Now this is just 7 questions, it's just for fun. And honestly, if you don't want to do it on your app or you don't have a smartphone that'll do this, that's fine. I want you to then, when the quiz comes up, just think in your mind about the question, and then you'll have 20 seconds to think of an answer, and there's 4 options to choose from. If you have the app, the 4 options will each have a color-coded button, okay? So then on your app, you choose the button that corresponds to that answer. And then it will tell you whether you were correct or not on your app. It'll give you immediate feedback, okay? It'll let you know what the correct answer is. So we see several names coming up. All right, anybody need more time? Anybody still trying to join us? Okay. We'll just give you a few more seconds here. The boys are finishing. Anybody else need paper? Anybody not get a piece of paper? Raise your hand if you did not get a sheet of paper. Okay. All right, we have quite a few names up there. Brother Ben, go ahead and bring up the first question. Here it comes. We turned off the music in the background. Bethlehem is closest to, and then there's 4 choices: Jerusalem, Lake Galilee, Samaria, or Beersheba. Okay, you got 10 more seconds, so you still have time. Think of an answer. And again, if you're not using the app, I would like for you to think of an answer so we see. Time's up. Okay, the correct answer is Jerusalem, and 16 of you got that one correct. That's good. All right, next. Okay. Galilee is how far from Jerusalem? 50 miles, 80 miles, 120 miles, or 150 miles? All right, you see the answers popping in there on the right. Got 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. We had 31 answers. Whoops, can you go back, Ben? No, all right. It went too fast there, but maybe you got to see your answer. And I think it was 80 miles was the correct answer. All right, next. What event took place on Mount Carmel? Feeding of the 5,000, Transfiguration, largest ice cream sundae event, or Elijah faced off with Baal's prophets. Okay, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. Keep those answers coming in. Okay, and time's up. Elijah faced off with Baal. Hey, good job. Okay, next. Where did the transfiguration of Jesus take place? Caesarea Philippi, Mount Tabor, Jerusalem, or Mount Carmel? That's a little tougher. Okay, you still have 10 seconds. Think of an answer, even if you're not doing the app. Caesarea Philippi is the correct answer. Oh, 1 got that correct. Okay. Next. Good job. Sharon Lewis had that one. Good. Modern city of Tel Aviv is closest to which port city? Joppa, Caesarea, Haifa, or Ashkelon? That might be harder to, got to kind of know modern history. 10 seconds left. Take a guess. 5 seconds. All right, Joppa is the correct answer. Good job. Okay. Next. En Gedi, where David hid from Saul, is closest to the Dead Sea, Bethlehem, Philistine territory, or the Negev desert. 10 more seconds. Choose an answer. 5 seconds. Ooh, we got more answers coming in. The correct answer is the Dead Sea. Let's see. Ah, nice spread on that one. Okay. So, is there one more? Where did Jesus spend most of his earthly ministry? Last question. Okay. 10 more seconds. Syria, Galilee, Jerusalem, or Samaria? And the answer is Galilee. Let's see how we did. Yay! Good job. All right, so if we go to next, I think it gives us the podium. Good job, Pastor. Chris. Yes. And Sharon Lewis. Woohoo! All right. I don't know why, tech guys, but my screen right here in the pulpit says no signal. So I don't know if there's something that can be done back there, so I have a signal here. Otherwise, I'll just keep looking over my shoulder. Everybody should have a piece of paper. Let me get my ushers back up here because I saw about 15 people come in. And if you did not get a blank sheet of paper, I want you to get that. In the meantime, let me just tell you a couple things we are not going to cover. We are not going to try to cover the entire Middle East, okay? We're not going to cover all the journeys of Paul. We're not going to cover, where all the tribes settled, okay? There's some good maps you can look at to get that. I'm not going to cover all the history about Israel and all of the history since Bible land times up to the current time. There's a lot of history, and history is not my forte, and so I can't do it off the top of my head, and I am not going to try to dig into that. There are a few Bible history things, obviously, that are very important that we will include. I do want to emphasize what I want to call Bible lands. Notice I'm going to try to be careful not to call it holy lands, because there's really nothing as holy about the land, okay? It's Bible lands, and because, the song we just sang? I don't know if anybody else noticed. I noticed, Walking in the Steps of Jesus. Did you notice that? And we're going to be talking about the steps of Jesus in the Bible lands, and see there's Old Testament and New Testament places, and they all kind of tie together on the same small map. So we're going to emphasize really a limited number of cities. I had to go through and choose just a few cities that we'll focus on. We could get way off base talking about every little thing. We can't do that, all right? So one group of cities per lesson. Psychology tells us we can learn about 7 things and hold on to them. So that'll be kind of my goal, 7 to 10 cities per week, and that's it. All right, we're not going to try to overwhelm you. My big goal is that by the end of these 6 weeks, you will, by memory, be able to take a sheet of paper and draw a map of Israel, okay? And have about 20 key locations on there by memory. And I know you can look it up in maps. I know there are Bible maps available. In fact, in the pew in front of you, those black pew Bibles have maps in them. But sometimes it's just helpful to have a reference point as you're reading so that you don't have to, honestly, we don't stop and look up words we don't know in the dictionary, do we? And we don't stop and look things up in the map like we could. But if we have it memorized, then a lot of those key things will just make a lot more sense, okay? And of course, I can't cover everything, so my second goal is I want to whet your appetite and I'll give you some resources a little bit later where you can further research some of these things for yourself. So the first thing that I want us to do is to sketch a map. So here's what we're going to do. Take your piece of paper, fold it lengthways like this. I need everybody to do this, all right? Active participation, everybody. Fold it in half. Fold it in half again so we have a nice long, now line up those corners because we want this to be nice and even, okay, boys and girls? Fold it twice the long way. Then we're going to fold it like a V. Match up the corners. All right. And kind of run your fingers along there. We want nice firm lines on all of those edges. And then one more time. So we have it's not a square, it'll actually be a little bit of a rectangle. I'll tell you about the scale that we're going to use a little bit later. So when you open it up, How many squares are there? How many rectangles are there? Any homeschool students? Any EBA students? Tell me. All right, 16. Good. All right. All right, we're going to just get an initial reference point. Ben, bring up the next screen if you don't mind. I don't have my... So this red line represents straight down the middle, okay, up there on the screen. And I want you right about the middle to come straight down to the very middle here of this first line, okay? Just draw a straight line here, and then we're going to kind of curve up to the top, just like that. So if you got a pencil, there's pens in the pew in front of you, all right? Now, look down here. Do you see this? Put a dot right there. That's our first reference point, A. Reference point A. I need to use, I think I'm going to have to use blue because this black is not marking. All right, here we go, A. So we have A here. Now, right here, we're going to put a little bubble, a little bump, and you see that on the map. Anybody know right off what that is? Raise your hand if you are confident that you know what that little peninsula is. Okay, that's Mount Carmel. So that's a very important reference point. So let's put a little bump right here for Mount Carmel. And actually, it shouldn't have come back in. But from here, I'm going to connect down to point A. And I'm just going to swing an arc right down to there and then off the middle, right there, okay? So starting right here, sweep down, connect to point A, and then off at the middle right here. Everybody good with that? So it should look kind of like what you have up there on the right-hand side. While you're doing that, let me tell you a little bit about the physical geography. Now, what we're going to do basically in this lesson is we're going to pretend like we're sitting on a drone, and we're going to go up the coast, and then we're going to come down here, and then down the middle, and then back over here. We're going to do a big circle and just talk about 7 key cities, and we'll have some pictures a little bit later to talk about some of that. But overall, the country of Israel is called semi-arid. Arid means dry, okay? Just like the deodorant that you put on. Arid deodorant, you know, dry. So Israel is semi-dry. The rain only comes 3 months out of the year. And it comes in from the sea right here and comes up to the mountains, and basically there's a whole mountain range right here, and the water gets drained out of the clouds, and then the rest of it over here is pretty dry. And then, of course, it's desert down here and desert over there. The rains can be quite heavy, though, when they come in those 3 winter months and can actually cause flash floods in the mountainous areas. The tallest mountain is Mount Hermon, which is way up here, and that's about 7,000 feet high. There's snow up there. They actually have a ski resort up there at Mount Hermon. And a lot of the snow, as it melts, comes then into the Jordan River, which we'll label in just a minute. And that's what feeds all of this. And Israel has to use a lot of irrigation. And they have some very sophisticated systems for getting that water from the Sea of Galilee and Mount Hermon and siphoning that down and spreading it out throughout all of the populated areas. The Jordan Valley is actually very rich. All right, here's one other thing we need to do with our maps. Everybody got your map folded now, and you've labeled those things? Let me find the one. Oh, here's the one that I kind of have labeled. Okay. So fold it in half so that the map disappears in the middle. Okay. And then we're going to fold it this direction on this piece so that we have kind of like this shape. All right, now we're going to do something interesting here. With this up at the top and this down here at the bottom, we're going to squeeze these 2 troughs together. But, so it kind of looks like this, all right? You see that, students? Kind of fold the two troughs together. Now you can kind of crease it if you want to. And that is going to represent, in a minute here, a mountain range. So we're going to kind of peak that up right along here, and that's a mountain range. Over here is mountainous, but right down the middle is a valley. All right, so let's label a couple of other key parts. Yeah, good map there. Leave that one right there. We're going to draw a circle-ish, kind of a goose egg circle oval shape right here. Right on this crosshairs. You see that? Right across from Mount Carmel is this circle. All right, how many of you, just raise your hand, I'm not going to call on you, but how many of you are confident you know what that circle represents? All right, good. So if you know that, let's label that. That is the Sea of Galilee. Go ahead and label that one. So I don't have to teach you that, hopefully. You know that one. Coming down here, we're going to label the Dead Sea. So we're going to, again, right where this crosshairs is, come up just a little bit right here, here, and here. All right? So just a little above the crosshairs, and then we're going to connect that, bring it down. Yeah, whatever. It actually goes off the map, okay? We're not taking this all the way to the bottom. So this is the Dead Sea. And now we're going to connect the Sea of Galilee, do a wiggly line right down to the Dead Sea. And that is, how many of you are confident you know what that is? Good job. All right, say it with me. Jordan River. Jordan River. So let's label that the Jordan. And I'm going to label it on this side of it because, guess what? That's the country of Jordan today, on this side of the river Jordan. But anyways, this is the Jordan River. Now, the Jordan River actually starts up above. So we're going to go up and then put a couple of little branches up there because that's where the river starts. Lots of streams and springs coming in. So the Jordan River starts above the Sea of Galilee, comes out of the Sea of Galilee to the Dead Sea, and then it's dead. It stops right there, okay? The Sea of Galilee is fresh water, flows into the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is so salty, 33% of it is salt. You can float in it. There's a beautiful white edge that goes around the Sea of Galilee, and that's dried salt. There's a lot of other minerals there as well. This whole southern region around the Dead Sea is very rugged and mountainous and dry. It's actually the area where Jesus went for his 40 days of temptation. Is that mine? No. All right. As you, all right, so there's something else I was going to label in there. Oh, yes, here we go. All right, so from the coast coming in, this is pretty flat, okay? You can kind of see that on the picture up there. It says the coastal plain. And then this is a mountainous region right here. And if you folded your map so that you can kind of bunch it in and it's kind of mountainous right here, coming down the middle. Flat. This is way down. This is 4,000 feet lower than the top of the mountain right next to it, okay? And then we have another mountainous region right here. So right now, find the middle between this line and the Jordan River, go to the top of the Dead Sea, and we're going to come right here to the center part, and I want you to draw a star. Okay? Yeah, right there. Are you doing that for me, Ben? Thank you. Right here. Right above, right at the top of the Dead Sea, and midway between the two folded lines. Anybody know what that is? I put a star there to kind of help you. Jerusalem, good. So let's label that. We're going to talk about that in, I think, the 4th lesson. But that's the capital, and that's a very key city, so we do need to know that. And then very close nearby is Bethlehem. Let's put that right on the line, right below Jerusalem, Bethlehem. Again, those are familiar, Bible cities. So we have Bethlehem, Jerusalem. So as we come in from the coast, so this is flat, as we come up towards Jerusalem, all of this is mountainous. And so there's foothills, and then all the way up to the top, and right on the ridge is Jerusalem. And that's why throughout the Bible, no matter where you're coming from, it talks about going up to Jerusalem. We think of up when we think of Google Maps, or we think of holding a map, and we think if I'm going up, I'm going north. If I'm going down, I'm going south. That's not the way they use the term in the Bible. The way up to Jerusalem means going up the mountain, okay? And down does not mean you're heading south. You could be going down to Galilee. It just means you're going down from the mountain, all right? Now, there's another, go ahead and bring up the next map for me, Ben. Thank you for, now this, again, shows the geography. We got the flat valley coming down the middle. That actually used to be very marshy and was a mosquito-ridden malaria until Israel came back in the 1940s, drained that, and it became a very fertile valley again. To the right, you can see, again, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see the geography of, or the topography, some of the mountain ranges. Now, I don't know if you can see very well the yellow line that kind of comes up, and I'm going to use this red marker here to kind of show this. It comes up from here, up the coast, and then it kind of cuts over, all right, and then around here and then up. That's called the Via, I got to look at it, Maris. Via means road, Maris. This was an ancient trade route from Egypt, and it would go all the way up here, past the Sea of Galilee, and then on up into what we now know as Syria, Damascus, and that type of a thing. But it split right about here, and would also go north, and that went up to Europe. And so this was a major intersection right here between these highways. So this was good, obviously, for influence and trade and wealth, but it was bad because armies would also come up here and invade, and there were alliances between different nations. All right, so now we're going to circle another thing, and that is... All right, go to the next map, Ben, and let's see if I have it on there. Oh, yeah, I wanted to show you this 3D. This is kind of an interesting view. So you see the Dead Sea. So this map is being kind of tilted. Sea of Galilee up in the upper left. But you see those mounds are the mountains, okay? And then behind it is very mountainous as well. But you can see the flatland, the coastal plains, just another view. All right, next slide. All right, so we're going to circle from right here near Mount Carmel down to a little bit below. All right, just make a long oval here. Very important territory called the Jezreel Valley. So circle the Jezreel Valley on your map. It means in Hebrew, God will sow, S-O-W, not S-E-W, S-O-W. And this is a very fertile plain as well. Lots of fields and farmers. And throughout Israel history, that was like their breadbasket. They grew a lot of grain there, but that also then became a battlefield because the enemies would come in and try to harvest that and take it away from them. You remember the story of Gideon. And the Midianites kept coming into this plain and taking their food away. And so then Gideon battled with them right here in Jezreel. We'll talk about some more about Jezreel when I show you some pictures a little bit later. Up here at the top, near Mount Carmel, is a city called Megiddo. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then down here is Mount Gilboa. So I'm going to put a triangle right here at the end because Mount Gilboa is an important mountain. I'm going to put a triangle here because that's Mount Carmel. And way up here in the corner is Mount Hermon, the tallest mountain. Okay? We'll talk about Gilboa in just a little bit here, but basically that's where Saul and his sons went into battle and were killed on the top of Mount Gilboa, and then their bodies were taken down to a city right at the base of this valley called Beit Shean, and they were hung on the wall. And then some men from across the river came over and took their bodies off the wall and gave them a proper burial. All right. So those are some of the key points I wanted to start with, and now let's go through the slides here. I'm going to start with the city of Joppa. And let me show you where Joppa is on the map here. So if we're going to first put a dot right on the middle, where this middle line goes across, okay? And put an N there, because that is not Joppa. N stands for not Joppa. It stands for Netanya. And you say, I don't remember hearing that in the Bible. No, you didn't. It's a modern city. But whenever tour groups go there, it's a huge tourist area. They have lots of hotels, and it's close to the airport. And so that's like where tourists stay before they leave, and then when they come in first. So Netanya is right here. But if we go halfway down the coast, so draw a circle here, and that is the city of Joppa. And then we're going to label one more dot, and then I'm going to show you some pictures here. 1/3 of the way up here is Caesarea, okay? But for now, I want to talk about Joppa. Oh, I was going to mention to you is the scale, because we're doing this map to scale. So on the graph here, if we go from the width of one of these is 15 miles. If you want to label it that way, you're welcome to. And then going this direction vertically from one line to the other line is 40 miles. So we have 15 miles going this way, 40 miles going this way. So that kind of gives you a little scale to think about distances. Here's another interesting way to think about the distances in Israel. If we put Allentown, okay, right here in the middle, and we go all the way up to here, and just a little bit further, we're at Wilkes-Barre. And if we go 40 miles down and just a little bit further to right here, so I'm going to do a dotted line, all right, we're at Philly. So the distance from about, Bethlehem up to Galilee is about the distance from Philadelphia to Wilkes-Barre. So it's not a huge country, if you think of it in that respect. You could lay it on top of, eastern Pennsylvania here. Okay, the port of Joppa was used by King Solomon for importing wood when he was building the temple and his home in Jerusalem. It says in 2 Chronicles chapter 2, and Solomon determined to build a house for the name of the Lord and a house for his kingdom. And Solomon sent to Hiram, the king of Tyre, saying, send me also cedar trees, fir trees, and algum trees out of Lebanon. All right, so let me stop there for just a second. Oh. So right on this map, what did I do, Ben? Thank you. This is Tyre, this city right here where the map kind of curves. We'll talk about that actually next week, so I'm not labeling it, but that is Tyre. And so this is the Phoenician kingdom up here of Tyre and Sidon, Zidonians, and Lebanon, the country of Lebanon. We have a missionary in Lebanon, don't we? And evidently a lot of beautiful trees up here in the mountainous region. And so those trees would be brought down to this port of Tyre and then brought down the coast all the way to Joppa, and then from Joppa brought over inland to Jerusalem, okay? So that was shorter than bringing it down through the mountains and the mountain passes. So Solomon said, send me cedar trees, fir trees, algum trees out of Lebanon, and we will cut wood out of Lebanon. The king said, as much as thou shalt need, and we will bring it to thee in floats by sea to Joppa, and thou shalt carry it up to Jerusalem. The port of Joppa is also mentioned in the story of Jonah. So, whoops. No, we'll get to that one in a minute. So Jonah, it says in Jonah 1:3, rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord and went down to Joppa. And he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof and went into it to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. When the Israelites had been taken out of the land and then they returned to Jerusalem, remember, to build the temple again? In Ezra 3:7, it says, they gave money also unto the masons and the carpenters, and meat and drink and oil unto them of Zidon. So that was up at that upper region again, Tyre. And to them of Tyre to bring cedar trees from Lebanon to the sea of Joppa, according to the grant that they had from Cyrus, king of Persia. All right, so there's a little plaque right there on the door that says that this is the house of the tanner by the sea in Joppa. I don't know if it actually is, but somebody's trying to make some money off that. But this actually is in the city of Joppa. And in Acts 10:5, you remember the story where Cornelius was seeking after God. And so God sent a message to him and said, send to Joppa, call for one Simon, whose surname is Peter. He lodgeth with one Simon a tanner, whose house is by the seaside. And one more story that happened in Joppa is that Peter raised Tabitha from the dead in this city. All right, we labeled Caesarea on your map. It's just halfway up between Carmel, which is right here, and Joppa, which is right there. No, that was Netanya. Okay, this is Joppa down here. This was Netanya. So here's Caesarea. You say, well, I don't remember reading Caesarea in the Bible. Well, we do in the New Testament. Caesarea is located on the shore in the center of Israel, in the middle between Haifa and Tel Aviv. It's the site of one of the most important cities in the Roman world. In fact, it was the capital city of the province of Judea at the time of Christ. There was a Crusader fortress built there. Philip ministered here, Acts chapter 8 and verse 40. This was the hometown of Cornelius. We just talked about Cornelius sending to Joppa, to get Peter. Well, he sent from Caesarea. So he would have sent south to Joppa, and then Peter came north up to go Caesarea. Herod, Agrippa I, died here being eaten of worms. Remember that story in Acts 12? He was giving a speech. In 58 AD, the Apostle Paul was taken here, since this was the center of the kingdom, of the Roman kingdom in this area. So when he appealed to Caesar, he was taken here. And this actually is ruins from the palace that the Caesar had built. And I think in the next slide, I've got some pictures. So this is a Colosseum. There's a lot of excavation being done in Israel, and constantly. I mean, you go out here in Pennsylvania, and if you dig down, you might find an arrowhead if you're lucky. In Israel, no matter where you dig, you're going to find something. And so they're constantly having to put building projects on hold because they find, oh, here's a buried city. We didn't know about this one. What is this? But this was a huge find. This was a whole Colosseum that they uncovered. You can't see it from there, but if you get online and look at some of these pictures, these are beautiful mosaic tiles that have just been covered by sand. And now they've exposed them and seen. But this was a swimming pool that Caesar had right there with fresh water that they brought down from Galilee to fill this freshwater pool. And you can still see the remains of it. The water came through an aqueduct system from all the way up in Galilee. So that's still visible. These are not from the time of Christ, but they have a lot of interesting old buildings there in Caesarea. Let's talk about Mount Carmel. So that's that little peninsula that kind of juts out. And this is a picture you can definitely see. Whoop. Back, here we go. This was the top. This is where Elijah met with the prophets of Baal at the top of this mountain. It's very possible that Elijah lived along the side of this mountain. There's a lot of caves there. Along the bottom is a stream. It's called the River Kishon. And of course, you know the story, how he took the prophets down there, killed them, and their blood flowed into the river and out into the sea. There's a statue supposedly representing Elijah. This is from the top of the Mount Carmel looking down into the valley. And this would be the area called Armageddon, the Valley of Megiddo. This is the city of Megiddo. Now back here on this map, that city would have been located right where these roads kind of parted. So the road heading north and heading this direction and heading south. So right there was a fortress city, and it was there by the Canaanites before the Israelites came. The Israelites took it, they lost it, they took it, they lost it. It was a major fortress. We'll talk about that in a future lesson, but right near there is also then where the Battle of Armageddon that the book of Revelation talks about will be fought. So this shows kind of the plain, flat plain. That back there actually is the mountain where Nazareth is located on the top, okay? So we're standing on Mount Carmel looking across the Megiddo Valley. So again, this is that Jezreel Valley that we have circled on our map. So it's huge, it's flat, great area for growing things. All right, so let's see what we have on our map so far. You should have Joppa, okay? We have Netanya, we have Caesarea. We just talked about Carmel. These two we didn't put on our map. We'll put them on maybe next week. We'll deal with Caesarea Philippi and Tyre next week and Mount Hermon. But now we're going to come down here to Mount Gilboa, a little bit more about the Jezreel Valley. This is another view from Mount Carmel looking towards the Jezreel Valley, and this is Mount Gilboa back here at the back of the, this little range of mountains. Notice how it just rises up. It's so flat and then just straight up. And you see all the fields down there. Famous battle where Saul and his sons fought at the top of the mountain there. I think in this next slide, you can't read that text. I can't read that text. I don't know why I did this slide. It says Saul and his sons died right here. This says Saul meets the witch at Endor. So there's Endor. Okay. So it's close. And Shunem, you've heard of Shunem, the Shunammite woman, all right? So that's where the Philistines' camp was. And anyway, I'm just showing you the Jezreel Valley. We don't need to know all those gory details. All right. At the bottom of Mount Gilboa is a stream, and that's where Gideon met his, separated the men out and narrowed it down to 300, and then they came into the Midianites. You remember that story. I won't retell the Bible story. Then we have, this is Sychar, and I do want you to mark this one on your map. We're going to come back to this at a later lesson. But again, coming right down this ridge, down the middle here, so it's above Jerusalem, and right where this line goes straight across. Okay, so right across from N for not Joppa, Netanya, comes straight in, and it's on the mountain range. That would be Sychar, which is a city in Samaria. So that is another major area. That was the capital of the northern kingdom. So a lot of the kings had their, in fact, there's a huge excavation taking place of where they believe the palaces of some of those kings had been. They were huge, all right? Today, this whole area, and then it kind of pulls in right around Jerusalem and then back out in here, all of this is the Palestinian area, okay? So it's hard to get into those areas. They're tightly controlled. They have walls up around this area. And then also down here, this is walled off. This would be the Gaza Strip. We didn't label Gaza yet, but that's right here. This is the Gaza Strip. So the rest of this is Israel today, and this is the Palestinian territory. All right, so this area of Sychar and Samaria is where a lot of the patriarch history took place. So Abraham would have been here. And his sons, okay, Jacob and Isaac. Joseph's body is buried near here, the well of Bethlehem. I mean, there's a lot that it takes place in Samaria. Jesus visited the well in Sychar. That's where the Samaritan woman lived. Let's see. Can you guys read that text? Okay. If you can't, maybe you're sitting back too far. Can you read that, Joe? Thank you, Ben. All right. All right, now let's take down here this A that we wrote on your map. The A, the starting point, that stands for Ashkelon. All right, so A was our starting point. We're getting back there now. Ashkelon is an important Philistine port city. So that whole coast up there is Philistine. We have Gaza, Ashkelon, Ekron, some other cities, and those should sound familiar as places where the Israelites battled against the Philistines over and over and over again. When they first went in, they took over that area, and then I think the Philistines took some of those areas back. And there's another interesting Bible story. You remember Samson, and when he lost the riddle, and the Philistines figured out the riddle, you know, from his wife. Then he went into Ashkelon, and that's where he killed 30 Philistines to get their garments to give as the prize. Okay, so that's where that city name maybe rings a bell. Gaza, I don't think I have a slide for Gaza. Was that my last? Is that the last slide, Ben? Okay. So at the bottom of the map here is Gaza, and that's where, anybody know what Bible story took place there? A person whose name is associated with Gaza? No? Delilah. Okay, so again, Samson, but he went to Gaza. That's where he gazed at her, was in Gaza. And so this is Philistine area. This is where Samson lived, right in here. We'll talk about that in a future lesson, okay? So there's other things we label on here that we're not going to deal with today. So there's like 7 major cities. So let's look at it again. If we drew the map and we start here and we come down and then we do the little whoop, and then we draw the A, and then we draw a line to connect to the A and then off, okay? And then we'll go back and put the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea. Connect it, and you have the Jordan River. All right, so in a minute, we're going to redo this. We're going to practice, okay? Ready? So let's look at the cities then. The A was Ashkelon. The next city we'll draw is right on the line. That's Netanya. Halfway up is Caesarea. And then about a third to halfway down is Joppa. So those are the ones along the coast. Mount Carmel, we talked about that. And then we'll circle that for the Jezreel Valley. And then we'll put the star here for Jerusalem. We have Samaria, if you want to put Bethlehem on there, okay? That's it. That's all we're going to cover today. So, what I want you to do now, you ready? Is take your paper and turn it over. You're not going to turn this in for a grade. This is just for practice, okay? So turn it over, and I'm going to try to do one up here by memory at the same time, okay? So for me, I have to fold this up to get the halfway point. Fold it up again. All right. So down here to A, Ashkelon, and then off the map. You doing this with me? You need a piece of paper? No? Okay. All right, so on this crosshairs right here, Sea of Galilee. And then I don't have the line drawn on here, but about here is another cross point. And so we'll do the hump for the Dead Sea, and then just kind of drop that down, Dead Sea. Again, we're just trying to get basic points. We don't have to be crazy about all the gory details. All right, straight down, connect it near the Jordan River. We'll take it up a little bit and then branch off. All right, let's label this one next. Anybody think they know what that is? Raise your hand if you know the dot on this middle line. Netanya, okay, so I'll just put an N. If you want to label it Netanya, great. Which one is halfway up? Caesarea. All right, we'll put a triangle here to represent this is a mountain. Which mountain is this little bump? Mount Carmel, good. All right, let's do the bump halfway, or about a third of the way down. Joppa. Okay. And then about halfway down here is Gaza, if you want to put Gaza on there. All right, so the other thing we need to label on here is this Jezreel Valley. So make a little loop. So from Mount Carmel down, so this would be Megiddo and Mount Gilboa. There's like a little mountain range right here. We're going to talk about the Galilee area in 2 weeks. Next week, we're going to talk more about this area up here and some of the surrounding areas. Then we're going to do Galilee, and then after that, around Jerusalem, and some of the southern area, and in between here, and then we're going to do a whole lesson just on Jerusalem, because there's a lot of geography in that city. And I don't know what we'll cover there yet, because I haven't prepared the lesson, but we just know the outline of where we're headed. All right, what's right here? Okay, Sychar or Samaria in this area. All right, let's put the star for Jerusalem, so it's just about where the top. And Ben, if you want to get that second quiz ready, I think we'll try to fit that in. So the star is Jerusalem, and then right below it, Bethlehem. Okay? Am I standing in your way? Sorry. All right. Go ahead and finish that up. Practice that a little bit. We're gonna do it again next week. Okay. I wanted to mention to you, out in the foyer, there is a map that we have hanging that shows, it's three-dimensional, so you can actually see and feel where the mountains are in some of these locations, and you'll see that we're not doing the whole map, we're just doing a piece of it. There is a set of maps that is, this is a really cool book, and Sister Barb was telling me she works at Hackman's, and they have these, it's Bible maps then and now. And so it'll show a map, and then there's an overlay of plastic that lays on top of it that kind of shows what it was like before and what it looks like now. So $16.99, and she'll give you a great bargain on it if you get it from her. You can talk to her about getting those. That looked pretty interesting. Just before we start this quiz to end, I want to mention we do have an Israel trip coming up, and there's about 30 who've signed up for that. I think we're going to have a lot of fun on that. This week actually is the deadline, okay? So if you didn't know about that and you want to learn more, come talk to me. The price is under $3,000, so that's it. That's the end of my commercial. We were going to have a meeting tonight, and Brother Ben, can you take that off the announcements, because I don't have anything new yet to share at that meeting. So no meeting about Israel after the service tonight. All right, are you ready? Put in your Kahoot game pin number 278778 and start. Are you ready? 7 questions. This is a different quiz. On the following map, which city is circled? Okay, Ashkelon, Joppa, Caesarea, or Netanya? 5 seconds. Wow, we got more participating this time. Cool. Time's up. It's Joppa. Hey, good job. 39 of you got it. Okay, next, which city is circled on the map that you'll see in just a second here? There we go. Bethany, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, or Hebron. All right, you still have 10 seconds. Even if you're not doing it on your app, think about an answer and see if you're right in 5 seconds. "50 answers, wow. And the answer was Bethlehem, good job. All right. Again, we're doing the circled cities for this quiz. So which one's circled here? You'll have to take a guess because we didn't really talk about this city yet. It was on one of the maps. Galilee, Joppa, Hazor, or Caesarea Philippi? Caesarea Philippi is correct. Hey, a lot of you knew that. Good. All right, we have a mountain circled. Oh, this should be an easy one. Let's try to get Mount Hermon, Mount Tabor, Mount Carmel, Mount Gilboa. 10 seconds left. 5. All right, think about it, think about it. Mount Carmel is correct. Good. All right, which city is circled on this map? Oh, another one we didn't talk about. Seeing if you know, this is preparation for next week. Jordan, Bethlehem, Jericho, Hazor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's Jericho. All right. Which area is highlighted? All right, this was one we talked about. Let's try to get 100%. Right in the middle of the map, dead center. Galilee, Samaria, Jezreel, or Golan? 5 seconds. Samaria, good. 43 got that correct. Chris is trying to stay in the lead. I think he saw this online and was practicing. All right, which valley is indicated? Kidron, Galilee, Jordan, Jezreel. 5 seconds to go. Think of an answer, and if you chose Jezreel, you are correct. All right, Brother Chris. Brian took second place this time. All right, good job, everybody. Woo-hoo. All right, that's the end of our Sunday school lesson for today. We'll build on this a little bit next week. Hopefully you'll learn some more as we work through this geography. All right, you are dismissed.